Hi, welcome to the Women's Health Matters podcast, where I help women with any issues that are going on. So it could be with their health, with sleeping, with emotions, mentally, hormones. It could be financially. It could be not knowing where to go in your career. I just dropped my glasses, sorry. All of those different aspects of your life that really affect women, and maybe relationships or fertility, pregnancy, whatever it is. We cover the topic here on the Women's Health Matters podcast. And today I'm joined by an amazing guest. I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell us all about her and what she's doing now. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks very much, Lucy. I am Catherine Murnin and I'm from rural County Down and I'm the founder of the Wellbeing Pathway.
Very good. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, Catherine, are you married? Have you children?
Yeah, I'm married to Declan, 27 years actually this month, which has passed very, very fast. And we have 3 grown-up children, 2 sons and a daughter. And yeah, I guess my wellbeing journey started probably really properly 11 years ago when Declan had a cancer diagnosis. And at that time, I was working in a large national charity, supporting other people who were going through challenges in their life, but became ill myself, I suppose, just with juggling all the balls that you do and running a family and looking after other people, and took a bit of a step back and kind of reassessed and revalued my life. And that has brought me to where I am today.
And how is Declan now? Is he okay?
He is really good. He is down to annual checkups and he's very, very well. He did recover amazingly well in a physical level, but in terms of the mental emotional impact of his health, that took a longer time. And I'm obviously speaking with his consent about that. And he struggled in terms of having the diagnosis, going through bouts of depression, and as a self-employed builder, having the challenges of actually talking to people about that. So we've been on a bit of a journey ourselves, but also it's just amazing to see now that he has really focused on his own health and well-being and talks to other people, particularly men in the construction industry, about how important it is to share what's going on in your life and how that can impact your well-being and the people around you.
That's really powerful because, particularly like a builder would be, I'm not going to say a man's man, like strong and building houses. And that would be quite a, rocked his foundation, actually, that this happens.
True. And I think at the time, the children were kind of going through the teenage years, so navigating that, and also the fact that he was self-employed and was out of work for a while. And there is that, I suppose, view still that the guy has the that stereotypical breadwinner protector type thing, but he did find it quite difficult to talk about that and share those emotions. And I think it was just luckily that I had the insight and also the contacts and the connections to be able to support and help him. So he's very comfortable having those conversations now. And I think other men buying into that's so important because it has a ripple effect on family life, on your relationships, and then just, I suppose, in our community in general, where people see other people talking about it, helps to reduce the stigma and then creates those connections.
Absolutely. And also for your relationship with him as well, that he was able to open, like, communication and relationships is hugely important, that he was able to open up and talk with you.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say it was easy because it wasn't. There were times that the suitcases could have been packed and people gone off on their own way, but I suppose we were so lucky that we had a really, really good friendship. We're together 30 years now. We still laugh a lot. We would be each other's best friends, but there have been lots of highs and lots of lows in that time. And I guess it's just about being open, having the conversations, but also knowing when you're stuck. And I guess I was able to really see when what we called it, the black cloud was coming down, and maybe Declan was having those challenges and having the conversations. And now we can recognize that really quickly and we can nip it in the bud and we can make sure that that structure is in place. So it has been really challenging at times, but it's definitely helped to develop our relationship over the years as well.
Yeah, no, and actually I'm really glad you said that, because sometimes people brush over the bad bits that happen in relationships because, but there are challenges. I'm sure when he wasn't feeling good after chemo and stuff, because I know my sister went through it as well. She had cancer, so I know that she, most of the time she'd be bright and sunny, but there's times there where she did go down a very dark place,
Yeah.
that she wasn't sure what was going to happen.
Yeah, and I think it's that uncertainty, and it's the shock of the word itself, isn't it? And particularly at the time when the children were younger, and we were trying to protect them as well. But I think anybody who goes through things in their life, which we all will, whether it's illness or grief or loss of identity, obviously the changes that people are going through at the moment. You mentioned earlier there your support through even things like financial well-being and encouraging people to maybe reflect on where they are. You cannot have perfection there. It just doesn't exist. And I think people who really strive to make sure that everything's in control are often the people that will find it really difficult when things don't go their way. So it's been a learning curve for me as well, because I would be a bit of a control freak and like to have everything organized, but sometimes you just have to let it go with the flow, and actually ask other people for help as well, which sometimes can be hard.
I know, but there are people willing to help. They're dying for you to ask them. And then when you do, they're so happy that you have, actually, aren't they?
100%, Lucy. And I actually put a video up yesterday. It was my birthday, and
Oh, happy birthday.
thank you. There's a lot of toxic positivity, as I would call it, out there at the moment. And I know I would always have my glass would be half full. I'm very positive in my outlook, but I know there are some people really struggling at the moment. And I think if you have that ability to reach out and offer help, but equally if you're brave enough to ask for the help, as you say, there is so much out there, whether it's organizations, whether it's people in your community, whether it's experts and whatever. And often it's just having that courage to say, I'm struggling here a bit, can you just listen, sit down with me, have a cup of tea, and 9 times out of 10 you will get the support. And how empowering is that for everybody, that we can all have access to those really good health and well-being outcomes then?
Very important. And it's interesting that you say toxic positivity. Oh, you've disappeared on me. Are you still there? No. Now you're back again.
Yeah.
Sorry. When you're saying toxic positivity, like I would agree on that one, that everyone has to be happy and positive and la la, but it's not realistic. In my opinion, it's not realistic.
And I think there's nothing wrong. I mean, having the space to be grateful, focusing on the positives, that's all brilliant. But I do, as if it's as simple as just getting up in the morning, putting a smile on your face. Yes, your attitude and the way you look at things definitely has an impact. But if you're someone who's maybe feeling isolated, if you're struggling, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're just about managing to meet ends meet, and it looks as if everybody else in the world, particularly on socials, is having the absolutely best life ever, that can make it really, really difficult for you. And certainly within my work with women's groups and isolated people in rural areas, or people who are having care responsibilities, often they feel overwhelmed just by having that expectation to be sunny, bright and whatever. And happiness is a continuum anyway. There's not any of us that are happy all the time. We have to focus on that. We have to build the kind of techniques and tips to make us feel like that. But it's not something that we can't cultivate, but also it's not something that we can just expect something to be and do every day.
No, I agree with you. I do agree with you. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's so hard to keep smiling when everything around you is not going shit, say, excuse my French.
Yeah.
It is. And financially, a lot of people, it's a tough time at the moment. And it is important to reach out. That's so important to reach out for help, actually.
Yeah.
Be it financially, someone to help you that way to sort things out, or emotionally, or if you're worried about finding something like, I don't know, a lump on your breast, that you go and get it checked out. Don't put it off till tomorrow, because tomorrow never comes.
Definitely. And if you are, I suppose, in a position that you're in or I am in, that we know a lot of people, we know a lot of sources of support, I think that's where you have the responsibility to share that and get that out there, because often people, they won't know even where to go, or what are the questions to ask. And that's not being patronizing. It's just, I mean, I know whenever my husband became unwell, I was managing a team of staff across Northern Ireland. We were supporting people living with Parkinson's. I knew the system really well, but I still struggled with what were the questions to ask and what were the sources of information in terms of the reality for us at that time. So I kind of always think, well, if that was me in the system, and knowing all that stuff, how much more difficult would it be for people who don't know the system or who are feeling really isolated and alone?
So again, you've brought this up a few times about the questions you need to ask. What type of questions should people ask if they're in this situation? So if they find out a loved one has cancer.
Well, I suppose I'm thinking of the different people and the different groups that I would work with, and it could be questions around cancer, it could be questions around being a carer, it could be questions around access to benefits. And for me, I would always signpost people to the experts. So there are a lot of really good charities and organizations who can provide that information. There's a lot of stuff online that is accurate and up to date, but there's also a lot of stuff online that can be scary and overwhelming for people. And if you can get the right source of support that won't just give you the information, but that will sit down with you, spend time with you, get to know you, that can build those relationships and almost be that kind of person that navigates you through that journey. And sometimes even in our friendship groups, we don't realize the skill set and the people that are there. We have specific roles and we kind of put ourselves into those boxes. And yet, I would consider myself to be, yes, I'm a mum, a wife, a friend, but I also am a health and well-being expert. I'm also a coach. I'm also very well connected in my local community. I'm also very knowledgeable in what is out there in the reputable charity field. So I want to use those skills and that knowledge the best way that I can to help other people.
Mm. So tell me about the well-being. How did you set that up? What is that for women?
So the wellbeing pathway has been something that was growing in my mind probably over the last 5 years. And it was during the pandemic that I decided, right, I'm going to take the leap of faith, leave my permanent, very well paid job to go into the world of self-employment. But really it was connecting my skills experience, but my real purpose and passion for inspiring well-being wherever I go, Lucy. So that's in conversations in my community, it's in the workplace, and it's also just in terms of the networks that I have. So I think it was just that combination of having had the coaching qualification, but also the lived experience of navigating different systems at times in my life, and then the knowledge that the impact of COVID was going to have a huge detrimental effect on people, but also would create lots of opportunities and space to talk about well-being and what that actually looks like for individuals, for communities and workplaces. And honestly, in the last 9 months, it has just been amazing. The people that I've met, the programs that I've delivered, and the new skills and learning that I've actually developed as well. So it's probably just gone beyond my wildest dreams, and it's continuing to grow. So it's very, very exciting.
Incredibly. So what kind of work do you do in the wellness pathway? Like, how do you help people, women? Is it pointing them in the direction of the different charities that help, or what kind of programs do you run?
Yeah, so it's a bit of both. I could, for example, a local community group may receive some funding and they may ask me to come in and speak about something specifically. So that could be around the 5 steps to well-being. It could be, I've got a program called Health, Happiness and Hormones. So that looks at cultivating happiness. It looks at women's health in general and the challenges that women particularly are under from an early age in terms of that nurturer, that caregiver, and the expectations that often society places upon us. And then into the mix there, obviously the hormonal challenges and changes around living with perimenopause and menopause as well. I would do a lot of work around carers just because I've seen the impact of that in terms of mental health and well-being. So looking at tips to build resilience, take that time out, but also make sure you have access to all the statutory support like a carers assessment and carers benefits as well. And then in workplace well-being, it's very much now about looking at the culture of workplaces, what that looks like for women and men coming back into whatever the new normal looks like, and then really building the space for conversations to raise the awareness and have good plans.
Oh, you've frozen again. She's frozen on a really good bit, but never mind. You'll come back again, hopefully. The signal must be very bad where you are. Okay, we'll just wait for a few more seconds and see if she comes back again. There's some great questions to ask her about resilience. That's a good one that we all have to deal with sometimes, especially when we're working as carers, because it's very draining on us and it's 24/7. So it can be incredibly hard to care for somebody. elderly or young or whatever age. I see it in my clinic. It can, with women coming in, they get really exhausted and lack of sleep and no support. It's very difficult. Oh, we've lost her completely. So now you're just listening to me. So yeah, that's what a lot of women come to me, and they are lacking in that, support in that caring role, and it's very draining on their energy, but it actually goes down very slowly, the energy. You don't really notice that it's going down until you get to the bottom, but it's happened over a period of years. So then when you get to that bottom, suddenly you're like, you have no energy to get out of bed in the morning, you don't sleep well because you actually need energy to sleep, and all of these things can happen to you, and it takes time to build it up, but it really is about putting on your oxygen mask first. So there's a question I asked one of my clients actually, was whether if she had 2 small children, if she's on the plane and the oxygen mask comes down, who will she do first, herself or her kids? And I knew her answer before she was going to tell me. So she told me her kids were the ones she put the masks on first. And I was like, well, now you're passed out. So what's going to happen next? Your kids are going to take off the mask and go, what the hell is wrong with mum? Why isn't she breathing or talking anymore? And then your kids are going to pass out. So the most important person to look after is you. Put on your mask first and then minding your kids, but you're demonstrating to them about looking after themselves by putting your mask on first, because they copy you, then they're going to try and put it on themselves. This is really important for self-love. I actually heard a really great thing, and I love this, from a client. Actually, I learned so much from my clients. She told me that, when you're feeling that lack of self-love, feeling the stress or the annoyance with someone that you're caring for, it could be children or elderly parents, or that you work as a carer, that, to breathe in that love for yourself. So huge deep breath in, love for yourself, and then exhale love for that person, that child, that that's annoying you, or you feel you don't have that patience for. And when you breathe that out, it can really help you respond in a very different way. So hopefully we're going to get Catherine back again, but if not, I'll get her back on this podcast, and I have more amazing guests coming up for you. So keep listening. Don't forget to subscribe, I'm sorry. And also just want to announce that I'm doing this amazing brand new perimenopause masterclass happening on the 27th of July. I will add the link into the bio. All you need to do is give it a click, and that will register you for this new event, and it will be amazing. We're going to be looking at so many different things about perimenopause and how it affects us and why it's affecting us at younger and younger ages, because women are suffering younger and younger with hormonal issues. And what I want to say to you, and I love this quote, is that normal doesn't mean you should have it. It doesn't mean that you have to live with this condition. Just because everyone says, oh, that's normal that you don't sleep, that's normal that you get hot flushes, that's normal that you've got brain fog. No, it's not. You need to not be in the normal. So don't forget to give the link in the bio a click and join me on my masterclass. And take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.